Hey Donna fans, you're tuned in to the AFTERBUZZ TV after show for Ray Donovan, Season 4, Episode 3, Little Bill Primm's Big Green Horseshoe. Join us and special guest Pooch Hall as we break down the episode and give you our thoughts and predictions. Let's go!
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin!
Now it ain't a game. Actually, it is front row at the game. I rose to fame off of Black Star Power. Now what you got, kid?
Black Card Power.
Unlimited. Casting calls.
Absolutely. That voice you hear is our special guest tonight who is a rapper, too, who we didn't know. A man of many talents. Welcome on in, everybody, to the Ray Donovan after show. Thank you so much for... No pictures, please. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your lead host, Frank Maiorana. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Go Frank Cam. I'm joined by the full panel. We are finally all here for this season. Sitting to my left is Olivia. Olivia, where can the people find you on social media?
You guys can find me at @thereal_O_G.
And McCall Hall is here.
What's going on, everybody? It's your girl, McCall Hall, and when sports and pop culture collide, you can find me on social media at McCall Hall.
And finally, we are honored to have, for the first time in the AFTERBUZZ TV studios, an actor of film and television, best known for his role as Derwin Davis on The Game, but we love him the most as Darrell Donovan from Ray Donovan. It's Pooch Hall.
Hey, yo, what up, everybody? It's your boy, Pooch Hall. You can follow me at I am Pooch Hall on Instagram and at @IM_Pooch Hall on Twitter. Get at your boy.
Get at your boy out there. Give him a follow. It's so much fun to have you here.
Thank you.
You have grown so much as an actor, just seeing you through the first 4 seasons of this show. And in reading your previous interviews, it seems like Liev and Jon have been a big influence on you. I actually saw one quote where you said Jon is very much like a father to you, on and off the set. But I'm wondering, what has he told you on set as an actor to help you to grow?
I think, so the actual quote that I talk about, Jon Voight, is he's my dad away from my dad.
Yeah.
And he's the man. He's done it all. And at this point in time, I think, given his resume, his family background, what he does out there in the world, like, he's done it all. So I think at this point in time, he wants to have fun, and he's about his grandkids, he's about my kids, and he's about, kids in general, just like, making sure they have the right tools to approach this world to where, they're the best that they can be. But I think as far as an actor, it's more about trusting yourself, I guess. And knowing that he's like, you already got it. You're one of the best. Like, you're special. He goes, you already have it, so you don't have to try.
That's great.
And so he's always given me that confidence and making sure that I know that I do have the tools to make it and succeed in this business. And he's told me numerous times, and I trust his judgment. Like I said, his resume. I mean, between like Ange and his son James are doing big things. So if you're gonna listen to anyone, you want to listen to him.
Yeah, that's great, and it shows. I mean, I'm sure you guys all know. I mean, you're having fun out there.
Yeah.
It's just like such a blast. Last night's episode, you and Terry are out just having a fun quoting Blazing Saddles out there.
It's like, dang, I haven't seen the movie, so like, I guess I'm not the only one.
So you guys all seem like you really love each other out there, and you're just having so much fun. Can you talk a little bit about the on-set atmosphere and what it's like, even in the heavier moments that we've seen from you in the previous seasons?
Well, I think for actors and non-actors alike out there, it's very rare that you come across a cast that can just work and just pop. Yeah. And I think with that being said, we trust each other and we have real relationships off the screen. And we're all professionals, and we all are coming from some resumes and some extensive work ourselves to where we can come to this team here and put out the best stuff. I think for the most part we're all trying to win. I mean, everyone's trying to win, but we're trying to win. It's not just like winning; we're trying to win some championships in a sense. I came here in like basketball shorts and a t-shirt because like I literally like just came from set. So I think when you have the relationships that we have, you guys, on this set, it makes it easy for us to kind of like trust each other and try things within the scene, improv a little or add something that wasn't there, and that with that being said, it's almost like playing catch or tennis. It's kind of like, well, I'm not playing to like kill him in the scene, but we are competitive to where we want to give the best scene. So whatever they give, I can receive and give it back. And I think that's what makes us special, because we don't want people to look at Ray Donovan or anything that we do is like, yeah, they didn't go all in. We're trying to like leave everything on the table.
Absolutely. Do you want to ask the question?
I don't know. It
No!
seems, yeah, like I'm all set. No, but I think especially in the newer episodes, like Darrell is more part of the family than ever. Do you think that like your relationship outside of, filming, you guys like are like a family, and that contributes to the way you act with each other?
Yeah. Well, for the people who are familiar with the Ray Donovan series, you guys understand that Darrell is trying to find his place in this Donovan family. And then for the people who are tuning in, we have this dysfunctional family with all these dynamics that are so interesting and crazy to where it's like, I have to tune in. So Darrell's world, being, his father's this Irish Catholic mobster from Boston, and my mom's black, and he's trying to find his identity. And quite frankly, I think that Darrell, there's so many things that are so undiscovered about him that I think can really be interesting when the writers decide to go into that world and say, hey, let's flesh Darrell out. But I just feel that we formed a bond and relationship based off of the actors who were put together on this project, that, we are a family, and we spend a lot of time with each other, that, we're as much fun as it is on the set. We're like looking forward to like getting together and having fun on the weekend, going to somebody's house, going to jump in the pool and go to the beach or do some type of play dates or something, because everyone has kids, and it's just a real family atmosphere. So we got lucky.
McCall?
Well, kind of piggybacking.
No!
Absolutely not. But you're a family man, and I've heard that when you work with people a lot, sometimes there's a person you work with that's kind of like your wife or like your husband. Like, do you have any people on set that you work with that remind you of people in your family?
Yeah, like I said, Papa John, that's what we call him. We call Jon Voight Papa John. My kids call him Papa John. And he's my dad away from my dad, and that's not even me trying to like say he's better than my father or whatever. So my dad lives in Florida. And
no disrespect, Pops.
Yeah, no disrespect, Dad. Love you. So yeah, and with Liev, that's like my big bro for real. He did something real special for me. We did a film together called The Bleeder, where he went out on a limb to really let the producers know and the director know I found the guy. And not just found the guy, but for me to kind of breathe life into the character of Muhammad Ali, rest in peace, in the film The Bleeder. And that doesn't make him a big brother, but it makes him a big brother. Because I think Liev, being such a thespian and someone who really cares about everything that he touches, that he wants to make sure that we're putting the best stuff out there. So he's one of those people who, and Jon as well, I don't want it to seem like one's different or one's less than. They both want the best for everyone. They both make people better. So like I can say Liev is like a big brother for real, and I never had a big brother. I have an older sister. Yolanda, if you're listening, I love you. She always gets upset with me. You never mentioned me in interviews. I just did.
You got your shout out.
Yeah. So it's a family environment, guys, and they all kind of, you know, favor a cousin or in my case, probably cousins, you know, and then cousins.
Like us, like cousins.
Yeah, me and
Like,
you.
yeah,
You
cousins.
see? Okay, we're gonna like continue on. Like when we wrap, me and you gonna go do our family segment.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We need to go take family portraits as soon as we leave here.
In case you don't know out there, we have McCall Hall and Pooch Hall, and
Hey!
they are totally related. So it's
Definitely.
great to have the family here, and
Yes.
we'll just be like, you know, second cousins,
Yeah,
once
it's like-
removed, something close to that.
Or we can do a couple thing. Pooch Hall, McCall Hall.
You know your wife ain't having that.
Just saying.
You know, look,
Well,
don't
we can
get that
act.
started.
We can act, and then you guys can play a couple, and we can be doing like a couple's like little Family Feud type of thing or something. But no, we're on AfterBuzz.
No, that sounds like a lot of fun. We should just blow
could be
this
fun.
off.
You know,
Let's just end it
whatever
right
you
now.
want to do. As long as there's
Absolutely
pizza,
right.
I'm there.
We had pizza tonight for our second meal. We
Really?
worked like 15 hours today on set, so we got a second meal, and it was pizza. I don't know where it's from, but it's a New York style pizza where it's really big, really good, and nothing's left.
So you guys are still shooting Ray Donovan season 4.
We're on our finale episode
You're
now.
on the last episode.
Yes.
Okay. How many more days do you have?
Probably until next Friday, the 22nd, I think.
Okay.
I think we should be done.
Wow.
How long does it typically take to shoot an episode?
I think we started end of February, maybe, like, but then you may do prep and like you have wardrobe like a little bit before that, but you know, jumping on set, saying lines and all that, or getting your scripts, I'm probably the end of February, maybe mid February.
From the start of the season 2.
To the
the
start
whole
of
season.
till we yeah, and we got a little bit behind because Liev was directing the first episode, and he works so hard, and he's so smart and cerebral. It's like he was directing, and he's like trying to like direct himself. He's like, all right, action, and he's like, listen, Abby, cut.
That must be so
And then he like
weird.
steps outside. He's like, okay. So Liev's talking to Ray. Okay, Ray, when you do this scene with Abby, I'm gonna need you to be a little more like emotional. Okay, Liev. Thanks, Ray.
Yeah.
You know. So, but he's just talented and just amazing like that. So, when he directs and him being an actor, he has a very unique approach, and he understands actors to where he can give you a direction and you'll get it. So we don't spend too much time on a scene that if we're trying to work it out, he'll know what he's looking for. And as an actor, understanding from an actor's perspective, he can give you, like, if you know, in a scene frame, he'll give you what we're trying to find. If you're kind of like having difficulty, like what are we trying to do? And he'll give it to you because he can see certain things where you have some directors who can't do that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, because he's an actor and he comes from your world and he's able to speak to you much
Sure.
more clearly, it seems.
Sure.
That's great. We're live right now with Pooch Hall on the Ray Donovan After Show for AfterBuzz TV. Be sure to use that hashtag out there, ABTV Ray Donovan, to send us in your comments and your feedback. You speak about that first episode, but you had one of the funniest lines in that first episode, sitting at the dinner table.
We
love you too, Ray.
Ray.
I mean, that was so funny.
Thank you.
The
You know,
timing on it was perfect.
there was you know, and we shot so much, you guys. So like what you have to understand sometimes, like in the Hollywood world, we can shoot a whole bunch of stuff. We can probably shoot like a handful of stuff, and then only this much makes it to the final cut, because like when you're reading a script and Ray Donovan, you know, being a 1 hour show, you can have a script that's like 72 pages. Now you have to keep in mind that's like 1 minute a page usually. So that's 72 minutes. That's longer than an hour. So a lot of stuff got cut. So I had, I think, 2 more scenes that were in there that got cut. And then not to mention, like I said, Ray, like Liev was so busy between filming it and directing it that it was just like, and then he's such a perfectionist, to where it's like, as we're doing it and we're trying to edit it and he's trying to put it all together, it's like, oh, we're about to start episode 2. So him being Ray, he has to go do stuff for episode 2, and he just was like, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? He directed episode 7 season 1, I believe, or season 2. I think season 1, where I beat up the car with a bat. I think it might have been season 1, and he killed it. He killed it. But you know, with each season that the show is on, you guys, we always have to like raise the bar. We always have to go a step. You know, we have to evolve and just make it better. You know, you want the people to keep coming back. So this year he started with episode 1, but it was just a lot. You know what I mean? It was just like, it was an intense episode, and he's directing, and we just came back from Europe, and I think he was in Australia. So like, you know, it's a lot. You know, it's a lot on one man. But you know, I think we got it done, and we're setting up the season. So like, you know, the first episode sets up the season. And but I give him mad props because like he was doing it all. You know what I mean? Editing, directing, and acting as the lead. So
those are actually like 2 of my favorite episodes. The baseball bat one when they're like dancing in the end. You know,
oh,
I love that one. Yeah,
yeah, that was dope. Yeah, that was dope.
So
that was a
dope
dope episode. And we weren't sure how it was gonna come out, but it turned out to be one of the fans and, you know, the critics' like favorite episode. And Ann Biederman, the showrunner and show creator, she wrote that episode and Liev directed it. So it was really special. So they had to get it right. They had to get it right.
Well, one thing the casting team got right was getting you into this role.
Thank you.
You grew up in Brockton. That's
Yeah.
not
Did
Boston.
you really?
Yeah,
I grew up in Medford.
Medford?
Medford kid. just like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go to Medford.
That's so weird because in the show you're like the only one that's not from Boston, but
No.
you really are from Boston.
Yeah.
So you can't even exercise that accent, you know?
Well, you know, nothing against Boston, but I'm from Brockton. That's a difference.
Yeah,
There's
but
a difference.
you know.
So wait, I got a question. So you're from the Boston area.
Yeah, area.
So it's like a suburb. Don't try to front now.
I will never ever try to front. I can have like people call in right now from Brockton, and they'll tell you how ill it is.
Brockton, stand up.
Yo, I'm telling you, Rocky Marciano is from there. Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Pooch Doggy Dog.
So here's my thing. If you're from the Boston area, why do I always see you wearing a New York Yankee hat?
What?
I don't think I've ever seen Pooch Hall not wear a New
my
York Yankee hat.
goodness.
You
Yeah.
ain't never wore a Boston Red Sox hat.
Traitor.
No, listen.
Because I want to know. I've always been curious.
Okay, as you know,
Okay.
the Yankee hat is not just for the Yankees, it's also a fashion thing.
Yeah.
I never really got caught up in the Boston, you know, New York thing. I grew up in Brockton. I was never a real baseball fan. I played football and I boxed. And there was something about the city of New York that when I went to New York, I was like, I fell in love. And growing up in Boston, and you probably can identify with, because we're out here. Let's keep it 100. People are like, when I decided to say I want to be an actor and what have you, I got so much negativity of like, you know, yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, he's going out to Hollywood to be DuPont, and yeah, you know, why don't you go get a real job and all this. I heard all this negativity, and I couldn't understand why. I was just like, no, I'm gonna make it happen. Yeah. And one thing that I noticed is that everybody was doing the same thing, and I think that when you get certain negativity, it comes from a place of insecurity, of like, you know what, and this is fine if someone's comfortable with just being average or just what they've been used to, that's fine. But usually, like, fear holds people back, and I was never afraid to like go out there. I was always different, and I knew that there was more than just either being a teacher or a cop or, you know, just working at Walmart or working at Sears. You know, I just got promoted to manager. That's fine, you know what I mean? But I wanted more. Yeah. And I felt growing up in Brockton, I thought at one time I was going to be a fighter. You know, I had an opportunity to really push that boxing dream, which I worked really hard. I was Southern New England Golden Gloves champion. Then eventually I played football. And I was just like, this is not it. And I said, there's something else here. And when I was at school, I went to UMass Dartmouth. I fell into this world, and I was like, this is it. It's like, you know, when like you're like, this is it, and then I held on to it, and I never let go. And I got to tell you something, because how the story happened, like I had a work study at UMass Dartmouth. I worked at the Frederick Douglass Union House, and this kid came in with his portfolio. This girl, Aki, who came in our Frederick Douglass Union House, was, you know, predominantly like, you know, all black students. It was something that we did, you know, for each other. And one day, Aki came in with this white model kid, and she was like parading him around. He had his portfolio, and so she's like, he's a model, and da da da. She's like, I'm not in the white boys, but he's fine. Check out his book. And so a whole bunch of us were in there, right? So the girls were looking at his book, but the guys were like, nah, I'm good. And I was like, yo, can I see it?
Yeah. Let me see that.
And so I'm looking at it, right? And back then, now you're talking about like 2000, when the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were coming out, where if you wanted to be a model or a boy band, people, yeah, they gay. And I was just like, no. I was like, you can't front. If they talented, they talented. Right. So when I looked at his book, I was like, these are dope. And so like I was like, yo, so you act? Or he's like, well, I kind of do it all in Boston. You do modeling, yada yada. And so he says, I said, well, I've always wanted to be in movies and television. I said, I never knew how to go about it in Massachusetts, because that's not like a real dream per se. That's not something realistic. Like growing up in Mass, what we're doing is in Hollywood or New York, and like that's not what you do. It's almost taboo. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, I'd love to give it a try, give it a shot. He goes, yeah. He's like, totally. So he gave me his agent's card, and he says, yo, give her a call. And said, you know what? Don't even call her. He said, go down there. He said, let her meet you, talk. And so I first started at Dynasty Models in Boston on Newberry Street. Ginger, Joe, what up? If you're listening or anybody knows y'all, like, I think I ran into them at Olive Garden when I went back to Boston, and they're like, Pooch. I was like, yo. So I think once I found that lead, I never let go. And then eventually I found myself relocating to New York. And when I went to New York, being from Boston, there's a real rivalry there. There's a real rivalry. Even when you was like, Yankee hat? Are you kidding me?
No, that's like the typical response. No, for sure.
That's the response. And I got another funny story for you. I don't want to take over your AfterBuzz interview.
You're killing it.
But so I went to New York not really knowing. The only thing that I knew is that I was going to make it, and the closest thing to Hollywood and trying to make it happen was New York. And New York, from Boston to New York, is 3.5-4 hour drive, right? So the stars aligned. My wife's cousin, Danny, what up, Danny? He lived in Brooklyn, and that's who I ended up kind of like staying with to kind of get my feet on the ground. And so eventually, I left Dynasty because I blew up real fast. I became union, SAG, all that within like a month.
That's a record.
It's crazy. Like, I'm telling you the fast version. So they sent me to so before I left Dynasty, I went and did a fashion show at Swansea Mall. And it was like probably like 15 of us. So we're like modeling all these clothes in Swansea Mall in Massachusetts. And I met this kid, and he's like, so do you like act? Do you do anything else? I was like, I'm trying to break in. He goes, man, I have a manager who just moved out here who you should meet. And so I sent her my stuff, and she calls me immediately. She's like, we got to meet. So we met, and then her kids were with the agency that I'm with now, that she sent my stuff to them, set the meeting up, and I met with them, and the rest is history. So I'm with Abrams Artists. I met with Abrams Artists in 2000, and I've been with them ever since. And now you're talking about a kid, my parents, nobody's in the entertainment industry. Like, everything I did was straight from the muscle. So, and here I am. But what I realize is that if you don't have dreams, then you're gonna find yourself just being like everyone else. Like, you know, especially back home, when people say they want to do something other than what everyone else is doing, it gets shot down.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like a small town mentality, which isn't fair to people who really have those dreams. But I think being a fighter and having my father, who was a strong pillar in my life, I built a confidence to where it really didn't matter what anybody said. I was gonna do what I was gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Because the confidence came as a fighter. I've been fighting since I was like, 8, 9 years old, to where it's like you go into a ring with a whole bunch of people watching you, and you go and box another opponent. Now, I've been doing this forever, so at that point in time, there wasn't really too much that made me nervous or scared me. Mm-hmm. So I found this dream and went after it. And I do go home when I can, but for the most part, it's just one of these things to where I encourage people, chase your dreams, man. Don't get stagnant, and don't let people tell you what you can or cannot do. And the more and more I heard that I couldn't do it, the more and more I wanted to do it. And now that I'm doing it, it's just like people starting to come around now. It's just like, yeah, well, I just didn't think it was gonna happen here, but like, I'm glad you're doing your thing, and they do it, yeah. So, but that's kind of my story, kind of real quick, a quick version.
You know what I respect about what you said earlier in your story? He said he told somebody that I'm interested in getting into acting, and somebody told me a long time ago, don't ever be afraid to tell somebody your dreams, because you never know who could change your life. And it seems like you did that fearlessly, just told people what you wanted to do.
Well, that's kind of the type of person that I am. It's like, and my father always, and like I said, like I quote my father a lot, and John's the same way. They're so similar, and that's what I love about both of those individuals, that they give you the weaponry that you that's going to be beneficial to handle life. And like my dad was giving it to me since I was a kid. And my father always used to tell me, he's like, it's not about what you say, it's how you say it, and how you carry yourself. And he drilled respect and class. And he said, whatever you do, make sure you do everything with class. And that's just kind of how I was. So I was never afraid to speak to people or, approach someone in a way where like, hey, I'm interested. But it's just how you approach it. Like, I wasn't a douchebag or, I'm this type of guy. I'm a boxer. I'll kick your butt. Like, you need to give me the information. Like, nah, I was just like, hey, so I was interested, whatever. So, I find a lot of the people that I started off with, it's so crazy. He follows me on Instagram. I don't know if he's listening to this, but I remember back in Boston, we used to work a lot, and he went to New York first, and he was kind of commuting, and he had all this information, and I was like, man, this guy must know it. I was like, he's about to blow up. Thomas Day Carey is his name. Thomas Day Carey. I'm
gonna follow him tonight.
He great actor. We started off together, and then eventually we went our separate ways. And then my agent, I don't know, I booked something huge or something, and my agent was taking me to lunch, and he was bartending at, I think, Hamburger Hamlet on Sunset. And
that's so bizarre.
It's the truth. But the thing about me is, like, I'm the type of person, like, when I meet you, I shake your hand and look at you and like, hey, nice to meet you. And because you meet people all the time. And I remember him specifically because I really used to listen to him. And I went up to him and I says, Thomas? He's like, yeah. I says, you don't remember, do you? I don't know. He looked at me. I was like, I'm Pooch. Hey man, but he gave me like the hey man, like he didn't quite remember, but remembered, but didn't quite remember. And I said, bro, I says, you know, hey, like you're out here. He's like, yeah, man. And so we talked. I introduced my agent and all this, that, and the third. And so they shook hands, and it was a great moment, but also a little awkward because, you know, he was someone who I looked up to. And what's crazy is I followed all of his advice and all the stuff he gave me. And with that being said, not saying that he didn't, but just certain doors open for people, it's timing and luck. And like I said, he's a super talented actor, and you know, I mean, I'm sure he's working. I mean, every now and then I'll see, you know, a response on Instagram, but the grind is real when you're trying to become an actor, and like you can go and be an actor, but like to be a successful one, a famous one, or working with A-list actors, I mean, that's, you know, for me, it's a huge accomplishment because I always saw myself there, and what I didn't do was like I said, I didn't let people tell me no. I did not work hard, and I just kept my nose to the ground and was just like grinding to where stuff started happening. So I was like, okay, this isn't just luck. This is I was meant to be here. So it's just crazy on how stuff, you know, worked out for me, and it's still going.
That's great, and it's going great on this show specifically. And we actually have a listener question that came in for you.
No!
I have peed on myself 3 times now.
You scare me.
Got me on that one.
I had to get it. Okay, now we good. Unless you do it to me.
I'll save that to
Scared
you.
the hell out of me.
So this is from a Twitter user. This is Andre Elvis. He says, how will Darrell interact with Connor for the rest of the season? I get a mentor relationship vibe from them, or older brother, younger brother kind of thing.
I think between Connor and Darrell,
because even tonight, I mean, with the episode that premiered yesterday, as Connor's in the kitchen, you see that the rest of the team is cleaning up the body, but you are aware of it and kind of usher Connor out of there. There's a protection, I think, from the rest of the family. Does that transfer over to you in the way you're thinking about it?
Without giving anything away.
Right? Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I think we all know, I think the family all knows what Ray does. Ray's into some bad business. But I think there's something sexy about it that everyone's interested in. Like, you know, in Connor's defense and in Connor's world, like, you know, and being a father and a big brother, like, you have to be careful in what you teach the kids and what you allow them to see. And you got to make sure you give them the right advice. And it's kind of tough giving Connor the right advice, knowing that low key I want to be in Ray's world. So there's some dynamics that are just effed up. Because then, you know, I think that's one of the reasons why the dynamic in the family is so just bananas, because we know Ray's messed up or in some messed up stuff, and he's trying to teach us to be good, or he's trying to tell his kids, like, hey, well, I want you guys following my footsteps. But it's like, well, how can you say that when, you know, you're the man? And, you know, and everyone else wants to be like you. Why not me? So I think you're going to see some stuff with Connor that as he's getting older, he starts to feel himself. He's trying to find himself. And he and Darrell are similar in the sense of like, okay, do I really belong in this family? Do I, you know, what do I need to do to prove myself or to show that I can handle it? And I think the advice that I think Darrell gives him, I'm trying to encourage him to, like, look, stay in the gym, keep your nose clean, yada yada. But it's tough because, number one, I'm not his father, and he knows what his father does. There's always some shenanigans going on, and you're gonna see Connor go do some stuff to where he's like, you know what, F with all y'all talking about. I'm gonna go do me, and I'm gonna show my dad that I can handle it.
Well, even in his language, he swears a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
All those kids swear a lot.
I was like, I would never talk to my mom like that. Like she would smack me, you know?
All those kids need an ass whooping.
No, yeah, you know,
All of them.
I think that when you look at it, and because I say that on set, I'm like, you know what I mean? You know, this is definitely some movie stuff because, like, you know, I would drop the hammer. The hammer would get dropped on me. And even with that being said, growing up in Mass, I don't really think they really tolerate that per se. I think Connor would get his butt whooped.
Okay.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Like I can't speak for the kids in California. Like, Tommy, don't make me count to 5.
Yeah,
you know,
like,
he's
there's
breaking
no
stuff
5.
in. He's breaking stuff in Ralph's or like, you know, running around in Target like acting up. No, I think, and this is one thing. This is, and you'll appreciate this. One of the things about the family of the Donovans is growing up, you know, in the blue collar, Irish Catholic, you know, because I was friends with, you know, though I was friends with like Donovan type of kids. It was the Daltons. I was friends with. Dennis was my boy because we went to Boy Scouts together. We played football together, but you know, Richie, Timmy, Jimmy, Jenna, and Katie were this Irish family, but they weren't the best. They were probably like the lighter version of them, but they were tough. They were tough cats, but they didn't tolerate no BS. They didn't tolerate this talk back, and they had respect for their parents. I don't know if like Connor or Bridget's like lashing out based off of like, you know, we have this effed up like life. I know my father's a murderer, my mom is angry or upset, so it's just like, why do we have to be normal? But for the most part, that would be real interesting to see is Ray doing what he does, but then also being a disciplinarian to his kids because I'm sorry, but I know a lot of kids who got smacked in the mouth, like friends of mine growing up in Boston or whatever, talk kind of if they try to test the waters. I got spanked. I was like, you know, I was spanked as a kid. But yeah, I think Connor is just trying to test the waters, and you know, some stuff happens with him to where, you know, we're gonna see what happens towards the end of the season, where he decides to go, how he wants to be. But I try to always incorporate stuff from me growing up there and the livelihood, because even when I go back home in Massachusetts and they're all Ray Donovan fans, they're always giving me input based off of, that's not real, how come you guys aren't doing this, you got to tell them this. And so I always try to share with them, because here's the thing, if it's not believable, bro, if it's not believable, I mean, why do you think people love The Town or The Fighter or Gone Baby Gone? Gone Baby Gone. Yeah. Like, yo, that's real. Those people are real. Like, people think Abby is like, oh my God, Abby, oh my God. I was like, yo, do you know how many people I know like Abby?
Every time she talks, I'm like, that's my mom. Like,
that's
exactly what she sounds like. I promise
you. People are like, there's no one really like, I was like, yo, you need to either go to Southie, go to Brockton, Quincy, go to the mall. You'll see these characters. You know what I mean? And I think when you actually see them in real life, you be like, oh my God. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of the fans in Massachusetts are just like, we love Ray Donovan. And but my character grew up in Palm Springs.
That's right.
So, but I try to always give them some type of authenticity from back home, because I grew up in it, you know, and I was friends with everybody. You know what I mean? And being a boxer, playing football, I saw the worlds. And to be where I'm at now, I'm just so thankful and blessed to where it's just like, you know what, there's more out there, I'm gonna go after it. And eventually I had to leave, and you know, now I'm here. But I don't regret where I'm from and how I was raised. I love how I was raised. I love where I was raised at, east side of Brockton, and I seen a lot, man. I seen a lot to where it gives you perspective. Had a lot of friends killed. You'd be like talking to a buddy today at school, next thing you know, yo, you hear what happened to David Allen? You hear what happened to Jody Parrish? You hear what happened to Brian was like, yo, dude, they got killed. I was like, what? Yeah, so it's real in Brockton, homie. Like, when I grew up, it was real. And when you see that stuff at an early age, and I'm not saying early, like I was 5. I mean, there was killings all the time. But like you talking about high school, it's like there's got to be something better. So I said I'm not gonna be one of these cats, and that's one of the reasons why I boxed. My father's like, I don't want you having trouble in the street. You know, I want you, if you're gonna fight or whatever, I want you to do it in the ring. So I fought out of Petronelli's boxing, and rest in peace to Goody and Pat Petronelli. But yeah, I boxed out of Petronelli's gym in Brockton. So just between all the actors and stuff who've come out of Massachusetts, you know, we all have a story to tell, whether it's Ben or Chris Evans and Matt, Mark, you know, Donnie. Like we've all seen some rough stuff out there, but I think it gives you perspective to where it's like whether you tell the story, like Ben being a director, and you know, just Matt and Mark and Donnie and them just being great actors. It's a lot of those, you know, their emotions and stuff are pulled from some real places, man. So not saying anywhere else is fake, but a lot of stuff is real out there and in your face, you know.
Yeah, one character you mentioned is Abby, who I wanted to talk about because the one thing that I looked up Cancer Centers America, stage 0 breast cancer means you're generally going to be okay. Like there's a 93% survival rate. You generally don't need to have any removal, but yet the direction that we're going seems to be that, you know, she has a serious diagnosis and it's really weighing on her. So I'm wondering where that is going. I know you can't tell us everything, of course, but I'm wondering where
Abby dies.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. No.
So, but you know, she is so real, and I'm wondering if, you know, your experience growing up in that area and the fear of mortality is informing this character and something that you've seen in real life too.
I think, you know, just giving these characters dimensions and layers. This is something new that, you know, they introduced with Abby because with that being said, like, you know, the family like loves Abby, my sister-in-law and the kid's mom and Ray's wife and everything, and it gives people something to think about. It's like, okay, well, is mom gonna die? Is like, what's wrong with Abby? I think, I mean, with anybody who is dealing with that or get that information, not really expecting to, you know, it hits you hard. Like, I mean, even, you know, just sidebar, like when my oldest daughter got born, she was born developmentally delayed, Janai, who, you know, McCall just said she just graduated. We didn't know she was handicapped at first. And then eventually, when she wasn't developing, when we took her to get tests, they're like, "Oh, well, you know, your child has cerebral palsy," and you're like, "What?" And you're like, wait a minute, like, no, you know, my kid's good. Like, tell me what the real diagnosis is. And it hits you, and you know, no one realizes certain things until it hits them, and so I think them giving Abby this situation of cancer. You start thinking differently. You're no longer moving how you were moving. You're no longer acting how you were acting because now you have to think about this because it's a real situation. And where I can honestly say about, you know, the East Coast and, you know, us Northerners, it's like you know, as long as we're going to church and we're going to work and providing for our family, everything should be good. So when you get hit with certain like things like this, it's kind of like, huh, what? And then you know, especially with the guys, we're a little bit more stubborn. You know, I'm fine. Well, your foot's about to fall off. That's fine. No worry. I have to go to work tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think with Abby having this situation, I think it brings a different dynamic to where it causes people to have to kind of think about this in addition to all the stuff Ray's going through, to where it's like, okay, Abby, whom I love, has this situation to where it's like, well, is this something I can fix? Is this something I can't fix? Is she going to be okay? I don't know, but I want to be there for her. But I got this thing going on. So I think it just adds another, you know, monkey wrench in the works. And we will have to see what happens with Abby going through it, but it makes her human. I think it would have been real interesting to see if Ray got diagnosed with cancer.
I think so too. Well, I thought, you know, tonight and with this episode, there were so many powerful moments for Abby. I thought when she was on the bed with Bridget and she said, well, this is the way we're doing it. It was like this subtle acceptance of something that she's always hated, which is Ray's work and what he does. And she's kind of bought into it for a second. Did you guys feel
I
that
thought
way
that
too?
was such a, even in the beginning when she was laying with the dog, like it seems like she was finally like down for it, you know? She's like, just tell me, like I'm already in it, like it's fine. And you typically she would like get mad or just be like, what the hell, you know? But she was just like, all right, like let's do this, you know?
I found it interesting that Abby, claiming to not know everything about Ray's life, had such a dead-on shot. You know what I mean? Like, for somebody who claims to not really be in it, like, if you gave my mama a gun right now, she wouldn't know what to do.
Well, she was at the range, you know, with her man.
With the cop.
Yeah,
Because
from
maybe
last-
she
got
Side piece.
some practice
Her little side
there.
piece.
Maybe I missed that part. But I was like, that was a good shot for somebody to be so, you know, frantic about the lifestyle. Can your mom shoot? She's from Boston.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe she'll surprise me.
Is that a Boston thing? Like, women
Low
gotta know how
key.
to shoot?
It depends on what part of Boston, man. I don't know if Memphis getting down
Yeah, I
like
don't
that,
think
bro.
so.
Back in Boston, Lordy.
Well, look, we've held you hostage long enough, so we really want to thank you for coming in. Is there anything that you're working on now that the people can check out online? Or?
Oh, sure. Well, I'm in the film The Bleeder with Liev Schreiber and Naomi Watts and Ron Perlman, Michael Rappaport, Jim Gaffigan. She's from Mad Men.
Elizabeth Moss?
Elizabeth Moss.
There we go.
She's in it. And I think people gonna. That film it's based off of Chuck Wepner, the real Rocky. And that's going to be something special.
When does it come out?
Well, I believe it got accepted to the Toronto Film Festival and Venice Film Festival, and so it's going through that process. And then I did a film called A Dog's Purpose, New York Times bestseller, directed by Lasse Hallström, Dennis Quaid, Bradley Cooper. And then I did a pilot movie for TV One called Media. Okay. With Brian White and Craig Ross, Gary Dourdan, Christy Ferris. That's dope. And it was something really special to me that I wanted to kind of get back in front of like my urban fans, my game fans, because even to this day, a lot of my game fans are like, hey, well, after the game, like what happened to him? It's like, no, I'm on Ray Donovan, because it's like.
We went from seeing you on UPN with like free cable to now we got to pay for it. Like you lost some of us.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And then I got something real special coming out, which I shoot Wednesday, Thursday, which you guys will see soon. It's gonna be fun. And just the rest of season 4 of Ray Donovan. There's so much happening that it's hard for me to kind of like say anything without giving anything. Sure. I think I gave too much, even with Connor.
Yeah.
But I think everyone over there is working hard, and it's definitely about raising the bar. And one of the reasons why you have these shows is because we have certain concepts that people want to see, and him being a Hollywood fixer and fixing these problems with these Hollywood elites, or just getting involved in some stuff that he shouldn't get involved in, and having to fix it, is interesting. And he has the answers for those people, but he can't fix himself or his family. And it's kind of like, what's gonna happen with this guy? Is he really tortured? And then the people around him, like, we're here for him, but it's like he's not letting people in, or he's selective as far as who he loves more or whatever. And then you have, Jon Voight plays Mickey, who's just constantly just, turning the wheel. But for the most part, man, I'm just happy to be working and to be in good company, like such as you guys.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much.
Well,
Medfit. So.
Well, it's been a blast having you in here. Please come back. We would love to have you back either later this season or next season. Until then, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with the episode 4 breakdown. We have been McCall Hall.
You guys, check me out on social media when sports and pop culture collide at McCall Hall.
And Olivia.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @thereal_O_G.
And I am Frank Maiorana. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Go Frank M. Thank you to Pooch Hall.
Hey, yo!
The man for being here this week. We'll see you all next week. Be blessed. We'll see you back soon.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.